Hey, John.
Good morning.
Um, I just wanted to mention to everybody on the call before we started that we are recording this and it will be posted on the website. Just as a reminder to everybody it's not publicly, it'll be behind the member wall, but just wanted to make sure folks knew that before we started. And then John, if it's okay, I'll give a little brief update on the federal appropriations bills that
Absolutely.
passed after you're finished with the state.
Okay. You want to do that now?
Sure, I can do it. So there are 12 appropriations bills that Congress passes to fund the federal government. They passed first six a couple of months ago, and then we had a continuing resolution that expired at the end of January. And there was some controversy, some disagreement on the immigration funding for the immigration agency. And so what they did was they bundled 5 of the remaining 6 and passed those appropriations, which include the U.S. Department of Transportation and U.S. EPA, which have and Department of Interior, which have infrastructure and ag as well, actually. So all of those have infrastructure components and funding for infrastructure. And they did a continuing resolution for the Department of Homeland Security, which funds ICE, and I believe that expires. So we did have a short-term federal shutdown, but they were able to come to consensus on those and get the bulk of them passed. But we'll see what happens with the Department of Homeland Security, because that's still just a continuing resolution, which just is a temporary stopgap measure to fund the government to keep things operating. So just wanted to give everybody an update on that. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. I'm sorry, did someone have a question?
Connected to. If everyone could please make sure to have your microphones muted, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So next week will be week 5. So Wednesday will mark actually the halfway point in session. What we expect next week is we expect to see the budgets, the initial budget recommendations, both in the House and the Senate, drop. The House would probably be over a 2-day period, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think the Senate is scheduled for Thursday. And so, the way it works, and I think most of you know this, but just as a little primer, the subcommittees drop their budgets first as a recommendation, and typically they're passed out of the subcommittee with little fanfare. In the House, they then all those subcommittee budgets get compressed into the General Appropriations Act, and the House typically does not entertain any kind of budget amendments in the subcommittee, full committee, nor on the floor. It's very, very rare. Once they cook that in, they bake it in. They don't make changes until it goes to conference. The Senate's a little different. When they drop their budgets, they will entertain amendments in the full appropriations committee, and often will entertain amendments on the floor. And the goal is, if you're working on any kind of issue proactively, you have to be the issue of interest to you has to be in one side or the other to going into conference for it to be considered. We did get some information that there are going to be some budget reductions in the Senate's budget. Now, this was in the context of a healthcare discussion, some cuts across the board there, which then leads me to believe that they will potentially look at some cuts in other areas. But we're trying to ascertain, and I don't know if Derek is on the phone or not, but he and I are. He was traveling a little bit. Yeah, I was gonna between Derek and I, we were gonna see about ascertaining whether or not these cuts are going to be contemplated in the transportation or the environmental space. We're not hearing the similar conversation, at least yet, from the House side. This was just from the Senate side. So if we hear of anything that is going to impact issues that we care about in those two arenas, we'll alert everybody real time on that. Any questions, comments on kind of where we are in the process? The transportation bill moved out of the committee this week with a little fanfare there. And again, no issues of concern that have been raised by anybody in our organizations just yet. The bills that we're working on, we have our indemnification bill that is, but both our bills, both the 471 bill and the indemnification bill are, I've hit some roadblocks in the House. There for various reasons. One thing that we had anticipated prior to session is with the deregulation issues swirling surrounding the professional boards in the House. We anticipated that there might be a risk that we get caught up in some of that. And I think that's partly what's happening with the 471 bill, which contains the loan assistance program. Now, during PE days, I think we had a group of engineers that met with the speaker directly, and as Derek can attest, the speaker personally hates these programs. He doesn't like the loan forgiveness stuff across the board, but he did indicate that he would not stand in the way of this bill. He told the engineers that. Unfortunately, what I think is happening with this is that that news flash hasn't gotten down to the staff level, and the staff is assuming, oh, we better slow this down because we know, as everybody knows, the speaker doesn't like these programs. Well, our sponsors, both House and Senate sponsors, are pressing hard to kind of turn that around. And I have been in touch with the speaker's chief of staff as well to try to get that turned around. On our in our indemnification bill, similar, the staff in the Commerce Committee, I think have issues with it just from a philosophical standpoint. It's not wanting government to be intrusive into private sector contracts, which we certainly understand that, but they do it all the time, candidly. And so same thing, our Bill Connerly has been working hard, as have we, to try to get that bill moving. Same thing, we've been in touch with the speaker's staff, and also our Senate sponsor, Jonathan Martin's been over there, personally went over there to talk to the Commerce Chairman, James Buchanan. But again, I remind everybody, when we set out on the pathway for this bill, we anticipated it being taking a couple years to get it done, mainly because these issues aren't talked about very much. It's been a while since we touched these statutes, and it raises eyebrows when you're talking about liability, indemnification, and all those kind of things. But the irony is that what I keep telling the House is its first committee stop in the Senate passed unanimously, and there was no opposition to it. So stay tuned on both of those bills. Not great news, because we are getting to week 5, and we definitely have to get these things moving. But this is kind of where we're at. The final thing that we've been working on is the overall dereg, and from all accounts, it appears that that bill is dead for the year. At least the House sponsor, Representative Yarkowski, sent me a text to that effect. He was working actually on trying to get us out of the bill completely in its next stop, but as of right now, that's a box we can check that we're not going to have to worry about the regulatory board or the management corporation being affected. So anyhow, that's kind of where we're situated at this point in session. Derek, anything that you have to add there, or of interest or note?
No, you covered it, John.
Yeah. So any questions from anybody?
Hey,
All right.
John, just out of curiosity for educational perspective,
Yeah.
if it's the House that's not fond of our 471 bill. How come it hasn't moved to a second committee stop on the Senate side yet?
It's I think the chairman in the second stop, there's plenty of time in the Senate because the next two, the Senate committees, most of the standing committees are going to have week 5 is going to be their last week, with the exception of the budget subcommittees and the fiscal policy and rules. So the only stops we have are committees that are going to be meeting later into session. And so we do have time there. I know on, the indemnification bill, the second stop is in Tom Leake's committee, and he was really hesitant again to put it on because it's not moving in the House. But I think we kind of convinced him, please agenda it, and with the caveat that if we'll know by the end of today, first of Monday, whether we're going to be able to get it unearthed in the House. And if we do, then we're good to go. If we don't, we kind of made a commitment to him that he can just postpone the bill and not take the committee's time. As far as the 471, again, I think it's more of a fact that it's sitting in a budget committee and they've been focusing on getting their budget prepared, knowing that we do have plenty of time on that side. But the same thing, I anticipate if it gets stuck in the House, then Senator Mayfield's not going to press for it to be heard because it's essentially we'd be dead for the year. So,
Got it. Okay. I always love learning the tricks from you. Thank you.
I need a few extra this week. I'll just tell you. So, yeah, it's been frustrating. It really has because it's just just in the commerce silo. The staff they wield a good bit of influence, and I think everybody that lobbies in that space recognize that they're probably more so than any other area in the legislature that commerce silo they do defer to the staff quite a bit, and that's kind of where we have problems. So anyway, that's kind of our update for the week, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get some success moving forward on these bills in the House.
John, this is JW. I've got a question on the advanced air mobility bills that are moving through. And Derek, this is, I guess, a little bit more to you. I understand there's a general bill about advanced air mobility that's got some movement, but there may be some pushback from FDOT on that bill. Have you heard of any discussions on the advanced air mobility stuff?
Yes, sir. Good question, JW. So you're accurate. So there's a bill by Senator Gail Harrell in the Senate and Representative Leonard Spencer in the House. He's a freshman Democrat. Senator Harrell has been the sponsor of advanced air mobility each year that there's been a bill filed. This is Representative Spencer's first year doing this bill. In previous year, Representative Bankson has done the bill. And so the bill has had 4 committee references on the House bill. It's gotten through 2 of those 4. DOT sat by the first one, did not testify against the bill. I've actually been talking to Jack Rogers and the department staff throughout. They actually met on Monday afternoon with Representative Spencer to kind of lay out some of their concerns with the bill, some of dealing with duplicity of references. They just don't feel like there's a need there. They feel like the entire bill is pushed by one particular vendor. So it's very self-serving in their opinion. My understanding is that they've actually been giving Representative Spencer some language to make the bill more palatable if he wants to advance it. What no one knows is what Senator Harrell will do. She has, respectfully, never been amenable to any collaborative changes in the previous year, which is why the bill has always not crossed the finish line. Even when Bankson had it, he was more amenable to the department's concerns and even the airport council's concerns. And Senator Harrell would not, because she was doing it as a supporter, number one, but also the lobbyist who at the time was pushing for the bill for her client was a dear friend of Senator Harrell. And so that bill is still advancing. She actually had a hearing earlier this week. But the department is now engaged on the bill. They're now the bill cannot be stalled. They're now trying to make sure that there are language changes being made. So I talk to Jack, regularly about it. I'm comparing notes in that regard. And so there's still 2 more stops to go on the House bill. I think Ted Probst is the next one. Representative Jason Schultz is the next stop of 3 of the 4 references. And so, but again, the department is fully engaged now.
Okay, well, that answered my question. Yeah, I was at the Senate hearing when Senator Harrell made an impassioned speech about welcome to the age of the Jetsons.
Yeah. She
So,
loves using that Jetsons analogy.
But yeah, I was just curious because I was also at the House hearing with Spencer, and it a little bit different reception over there. So I was just wondering. So thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything else?
Just I know I had a couple of folk ask me, you know, they weren't able to make PE days just because it was early and things, but they, you know, have an opportunity to head up to Tallahassee. Is there anything that, you know, a random engineer in Tallahassee can do to help you right now? Obviously they would coordinate with Deirdre and Laura, but you know, is there anything specific that, you know, you would think?
You know, I'm kind of reserved the right to get back to you on that one.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, sitting here right now, I think, you know, we've got, you met with the staff early on with that indemnification. You know, Bill Connerly has. I just, at this point, I don't, that's really our sticking point of those 2 bills. And if I think there's a role for an engineer to play, we certainly, you know, I certainly will utilize them if I know they're coming and know especially what area of the state they're from. They're from Sarasota, that would be great because that's where James Buchanan hails from, and we need him to you know, we need him to weigh in that commerce silo. So, but right now I can't think of anything.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's no questions, we can say have a great weekend, and we will stay in touch as we get more information on the budget.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
All right,
Derek.
take care now. Bye now.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.